Well, family, it is 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, September the 18th, going into, well, it's 12 a.m. So we're not going to the 19th. We just got to the 18th. Okay, so yesterday technically was FOMC. We got all kinds of spikes in the market. I caught this GBP NZB buy here. GU finally hit TP, but I ended up getting out early here. Euro NZD. I got in this trade on Tuesday, but as we can see, price has continued even higher. So I'm adding this to my analysis. The third week of the month, I always knew it was a great week, but this is where we can actually hold and get the runners. So this is something that we are going to continue to forward test. But I wanted to go ahead, delete my chart because news, gives us a whole different zone. We're completely outside of our ranges. Well, what's to our monthly zone here. Hmm. So what I'm thinking is the third week of the month, especially since I'm noticing is the most volatile because of FOMC. Besides NFP, NFP is volatile, right? But NFP happens on a Friday. It's one spike and then it consolidates until the market closes, right? But FOMC happens on a Wednesday. It's given us great movement. Like this, all of this impulsive movement up here started this week. Uh, Friday, Sunday here, the 14th, started this week. This week alone, Euro NZD has moved 319 pips. So I'm thinking that third week is when we're looking for our monthly zones to be hit. So we're going to start to look for that in the 4 weeks to come. I'm just making notes real quick because this is really just something I'm just realizing with you guys. All right. Now, I dropped EuroCAD as a buy for a signal. We got into EuroCAD earlier here, and our TP, of course, was set here. This is a weekly fair value gap. Well, price came into the zone and not to 50% like we normally look for. So then I was like, okay, price came here, right, which is back to our weekly high, and it retested and it pushed back up some. So I re-entered the buy. But now price has given us an impulsive hour candle to the downside. You guys are stop loss has been hit. So now I know that we are looking for sells. Okay. So this is our weekly area here. Price has already traded outside of it. Now price has come inside. Now we want to come down to our 15-minute here. And this fair value gap right here, I would like to see for price to come back to here. And then we also have this inversion here, right? So if price decides just to break and retest and then continue lower under this inversion, that could also happen. That's about 35 pips. But I'm going to remark this real quick and then we're going to go through and mark up everything and see what else we can get because 35 pips really to me isn't a pip worth trading. Now, the thing about this is tomorrow is Thursday. A lot of the moves have already happened. All right, so I'm just marking my weekly and my zones. All right, then my daily zones here. And as we can see here on our daily time frame, price is bullish, right? And technically we won't be bearish until price breaks underneath here. So price could come all the way down into this fair value gap here and then continue higher. But the whole thing about trading that a lot of people get right, which is why we do top-down analysis, is because you want to match your higher time frame bias with your lower time frame bias. So that way you get a valid trade, right? So if the higher time frame is telling me one thing, I want my lower time frame to align with my higher time frame, which is why we started our higher time frame and then work our way down to find our bias. All right, so I am going to mark off this fair value gap here. This fair value gap technically would not be a target for me, especially since it's Thursday. What would be a target would be my weekly zones here. So price came outside of the red zone, and then I want to see it come back into this area here. And it would have to break and retest this area before I even believe that it's coming down here or here. All right, so now we come to our 4-hour time frame, right? And we can see that we had consolidation here, and then price has come up the outside. Now it's going on the inside. Some people may call this a liquidity. So we got this bearish engulfing candle here, right? And then price stopped directly at the zone. It did not close underneath the zone, right? Price pushed up some, it couldn't hold. It came back and stopped at the zone again, and then finally the bears came in and pushed it through our zone. Right, so I don't really see anything else. Time for my part, so now I'm going to 1 hour here, and we have a whole hour before this candle closes. So technically, this is not a fair value gap, but price is sitting inside of an inverted fair value gap over here, right? And I really don't have to have this marked up because we already have our weekly zone up there. So we know that we're really looking for price to play off of the same area. So good old fashioned break and recess, right? We finally broke the zone. Now I want to see price pull back to the zone, which is why I was showing this 15-minute fair value gap here earlier, right? If price does not pull back to this area, then I don't want to enter the trade. The 44 pips is a decent 44 pips. Stop loss. We need good risk to reward, right? Right. So that's a 3-to-1 stop loss right here. Okay. That's what we have for Euro CAD. Let's look at Euro odd. I did call a buy on this signal, and I hope someone is up in the signal group because I'm going to tell them to close this, and this will negate that stop loss on Euro CAD. So it looks like a 1-to-1. All right, and about 20 pips. And I know Euro CAD stop loss was 30 pips because I put it when we send trades. I let them know how many pips they're risking or what we're going to gain. I'd rather them close this early than to risk a loss on this. All right, so we're just gonna delete this. Gonna go to our monthly. I'm sorry, guys. I just started marking up, talking about the markup. Forgive me here. Creating a trend line here because I see a flag pattern forming here. This is the pole, and this is what I'm seeing as flag. And this is a bullish flag here. But price can bounce around inside of the flag for as long as it wants. I want to mark the trend line. I believe I'm going to go with here versus that one there. I really didn't like how this one looked. Really didn't touch majority of price because I would have preferred for this touch to be on the trend line and this touch. So this one looks a little more accurate. Price tried to trade outside of the trend line. Now it's currently sitting on the trend line here for Euro odd. And now I'm just going back to daily time frame. Right, and price is trading inside of here, right? Technically, we're really consolidating. It just broke outside of this area. Now it's back inside of this area. So that buy could have been valid, but I want to make sure on my lower time frame that price has already broken structure to come back to the high. Right? I don't really see anything else that I can mark up here. So 4 hour. And see, I have a fair value gap right here that could send price back down. All right, so you see we've already reacted to it once here and then again here, and price is still trying to push up there. A lot of times when you see that, that's just price building up, and then eventually we'll get that bullish momentum candle to break through the zone. All right, we have a W down here, so price has turned around from this area here, made it to this zone. This is our 50% area. Oh, okay. So this is weekly 50%, and this is our monthly low. So price is broken and retested our monthly low. Oh, this is gonna be price is broken and retested our monthly low here. We get on top of this fair value gap and retest it, we can take it for sure. We'll do zone to zone. Yeah, this is a nice 82 pips, and then the possibility that price is gonna come here back to our monthly high. But this right here, 80 pips is good. Because again, we don't want to assume that it's gonna break out and go to this area because once price comes back in this zone, you see consolidation happens in here, right? So just aim for this zone here. Okay, so Euro odd is on my watch list. If it happens this week, that'd be nice. If not, we'll catch it when it does. Yeah, price just came back. We're on our 1 hour now. This is the fair value gap here that sent price up. Then it broke this hourly structure here. It broke this hourly structure here and then came back into the fair value gap. We just need to get on top of this 4 hour fair value gap. Get on top of this 4 hour fair value gap, retest it, reject it, and for entry there. So that's better than EuroCAD. You guys, GBP NZD. So I told you what to look for, right? I didn't have this, I don't think I had this parallel channel on here when I drew this for y'all. I think I just had my trend line, but I'm gonna start using that parallel channel just because I like how it looks. But I think I just had the trend line here and then the trend line here. I don't even know if I had it along the top. I can actually go see really quick. Right, and this is just my wins and losses. I know y'all see all these reds, but if you look at the reds, it's 10, 4, 11, 13, 27 pips, 18 pips, and you look at the green here, this one is 30 and 20, 70, 45, 90 and 90, 189. Our wins are greater than our losses. Why? Risk management is a strategy within itself. Okay, so we are looking for that before pattern for EuroCAD because I know, was that EuroCAD or Euro GBP and CD? Not even the right one. I know I dropped it here. Oh, okay, so I did have the channel on there for y'all. Okay, so let's put the channel back. All right, so I had this channel on here, right? And I was telling you guys that we were here, that we were looking for a break and retest for price to go lower. If price was to go lower, then we were going to take it to this zone here. So price broke and it retested and it rejected. If you would have gotten in here, you would have been glad. This is why we go down to our lower time frames to look for a break of structure, right? This right here would have been our structure area. Price never broke this area. It just continued to make higher lows and higher highs, right? So here, this is our higher high because this was our last structure point that it broke. So now we finally have a higher high. This area here is internal. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. This was not a higher high. Technically, this isn't a higher low. It's just internal. Higher high, right? So once I realized that price wasn't going to sell, we were still making higher highs and higher low structure. I told you to wait for a break and retest. Never really got a break and retest or a break of structure. Said if price breaks above this zone here, right, then we're gonna look for a bullish clue to let us know that we are going bullish and aim for this zone here. Price gave us the most beautiful fair value yet. Price made the most beautiful trade because it came back to that 50% that I've been telling y'all to look for, and bam, TP or 90 pips. And not only that, it continued higher. I don't know where this zone is up here. So now we're going to delete this chart here, come to our monthly, and let's put our zone. So apparently I don't have my monthly area marked up here, which is why I didn't know where it was going. All right, so I got my monthly and my weekly zones marked up. Yes, I do see a fair value gap here. I already know that price pulled back into it. Not worried about that. I will mark this trend line here because that's relevant. Price is reaching toward this trend line. And I also could mark this area here, right? We have this trend line underneath here. And what does it look like we have here on this weekly time frame? Let me know in the comments what pattern. All right, I'm gonna go to my daily time frame, and now this is our daily zone. This is why we mark these zones up, because again, we're trying to break it down to find our bias, okay? So now here I have a trend line. Here I'm going to that trend line because this is the closest price at the moment. Okay, and we just broke outside of this area. So you can see price was inside of some consolidation. Now we got impulse, we got a correction, and this is definitely looking like some continuation. Like price is definitely trying to come up for this trend line and last one is high. There's nothing else really that I can mark on my daily. So now I'm going to come to my 4-hour time frame, right? And what do we have here on our 4-hour? A beautiful fair value gap. If price comes back into this fair value gap, this is where I'm going to enter. This fair value gap is also last week's high. So if we look, our red lines is our weekly. This is also last week's high. When price breaks outside of our zones, what are we looking for? The name of the game is break and reset. Price resets this area, come back into this fair value gap. I am looking for an entry to take this up here. Is it going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. Tomorrow's Thursday. Let's look and see what news we have. Oh, and it's 200 pips and prices already. Wow, guys, price has already moved 294 pips this week. So not sure if that's gonna happen this week, but that's what we'll look for eventually. Tomorrow's the 18th. What do we have in news? No USD news, but we have GBP news. I am not sure how official bank rate moves. Oh, we do have USD news. We have unemployment claims, and I do know how unemployment claims move. Um, Unemployment claims, we're going to get a nice little spike in the market. I believe we're actually underneath what they forecasted. They've been talking about unemployment a lot. And as you can see, September the 11th and September 4th, the forecast was 235. So over, not underneath. We're over because there's more unemployed people than jobs. So unemployment claims measures the number of individuals who file for unemployment insurance for the first time during the past week, right? So a lot of people are filing for unemployment because they don't have a job. So the forecast is 235. If it is higher than what they forecasted, that is negative for the dollar, which is why we have these red numbers here, and that will send the dollar down. And we could actually go over to the chart. So last unemployment was September the 11th. Let's go to our days here. In May. Again, September. That's September 8th, September 9th, September 10th, September 11th. So September 11th, that day, the chart moved 122 pips. If we come over to the dollar real quick and find September the 11th. Right here. See that big old spike there? Price moved 90 pips. So I can't get the word out. We are due to see some type of spike tomorrow, unless it comes out to what they actually forecasted. But they've been talking a lot about how bad the market is right now. So I think the numbers are going to be negative. Okay. Let's get back to the GBP and CD. So it's a possibility. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But this is what we look for because we do already have that nice spike here. This is our structure here. If price breaks its structure, then we'll look for price to come back into here and then take it for a buy. Now I've got one to counter trend, but this is 85 pips. This structure point can be used for a zone and can come down to your 3-minute time frame here. No, you know what? I'm not going to suggest a bad habit. We're not going to counter trend, guys. Trade with the trend, especially when it's a heavy trend. Like it's definitely telling you that price is bullish, so we're going to stick with that. I'm not going to tell you that. So let's go down to the hour time frame. Right. So here on our hourly time frame, another reason why I knew this was bullish is because we have the inverted head and shoulders pattern, which is how I was able to catch some of that buy. And then, of course, structure, right? Structure. Price broke our last area that took us to our last low. This was our structure point that was broken, okay? And then price came back into this impulsive move and then broke this structure here. Then we got a pullback here. And this is internal because it's not higher than that one. So as price continued to show that it was making bullish moves. All right, so the thing about this one here, we have this gap here that price could pull back to, and we have this gap here that price could pull back to, and then technically we have not gotten a full break and retest, right? All of this here isn't necessarily a break and retest. This is the market just playing against this zone here before moving away. So I was taught that there's three things that happen at your zone, right? Either price is going to reject it, price is going to consolidate, or price is going to trade through it and then reject it. And this here is consolidation, but at the same time, like you're getting higher highs. But price still has not touched the zone. I mean, left it. You see how it's still touching it? So that is not a break. It has to fully trade away from it and then come back. So it may be possible to get a counter trend move for price to come back and test this trend line and retest the zone. If that is the case, right, then I will wait for price to get underneath this fair value gap here. This 4-hour gap, it has to get underneath it before I'm even thinking about selling it to come back to here. That's still 100 pips zone. Okay. So I'm not going to say sell it from this area here, right? Because this area is going to come in this area. This 8. Let me see. Because as high as the market is, I'm sorry, I see this inversion. Come down to our 5 minutes. So I will say this, right? We have this 4-hour inversion. You see how price rejected this area here, rejected this area here, rejected this area here, rejected this area. Price has respected this area, right? So from this area here, the structure point, from this fair value gap, if price decides to trade lower, then we can come down to our 15 minutes and look for a breaker structure. Right. But on the safer side, I would say wait until price comes underneath here. Am I going to counter trend trade it? No, I am not. I am just going to let price do its thing. All right. All right. So that's GBP NZD. Yellow. All right. GU. We caught GU earlier in the week on Tuesday from a minor structure. Like this is a break and retest. Okay. It may be minor structure break and retest because of how tight it is versus like when you see a break and retest like this. So we have this zone here, right? Price broke the zone and it pulled back into the fair value gap, but it never retested the zone. It traded all the way down. Now we finally got a retest, and then price traded back down again. Okay. So this is what you would call a major structure break and retest where price comes all the way away from it and comes back, and then you have like your minor structure breaks and retests like this, where price breaks it, retests it, and then comes and breaks your structure. Now, I don't necessarily always wait on the breaker structure because I know what I'm looking at, right? Now, if I did always wait on a breaker structure, I would have a higher win rate. But because I have good risk to reward, I'm not really worried about it. All right, so let's delete this and let's mark it up. We can clearly see that price have rejected the zone, but we just don't know. I don't know where it's going at the moment. So here we are right by our monthly. Price could come back and test that monthly again and then go higher, or price could come underneath it. Weekly. All right, so our monthly and our weekly, I had to zoom in because I thought it was at the exact same spot, but it's really close. Come to our daily here, and it looks like we're getting a break and retest on our daily. I could mark this trend line up here, right? So price could possibly want to come back in here, retouch this trend line, and it would come back into this fair value gap here. 4 hour here on 4 hour. I do want to look above just in case price is breaking and retesting. Now, this would go in hand with unemployment. If unemployment is negative, then we definitely want to see the rejection for price to go higher and continue its uptrend. I am okay. We had a fair value gap right here that price just broke. So let's see what's above it. Actually, I'm not gonna look for any other fair value gap. What I'm gonna hit is this high here. That will be my next key area. Okay. All right, let's come down for 4 hour. I do see that I have this fair value gap here. I am gonna mark this area just because this was our most recent break and retest within the zone. And if price wants to come back to this area, if they continue to higher, it could. I don't want to ignore the fact that this is here. And now I'm going to come to my 1 hour. I'm going to zoom in here. Right, so we can see that on our 1 hour, we had our break and retest. Price came up, hit that fair value gap. Now we have reversed here. This is our hourly structure. Price did break our hourly structure. This was our last higher low here that led to our last higher high. Price broke it with a very impulsive candle. I'm pretty sure on the lower time frame, there was probably a gap here and price came back in and filled it. Let's go look and see. Okay, so the gap is still there on the lower time frame. Where's my 30-minute? All right, so the gap is still there on the lower time frame, but here on our hourly time frame, price came back up and filled that candle. Let's see. So we have our breaker structure. All right, so what we like to see is for price to come back and retest structure. It did on our lower time frame here, which break and retest. Now there's a possibility that we could get a pullback for the higher time frame, or we may not, right? Because it's already happened on our lower time frame. What I would like to see if we don't get a pullback. So we had this gap here, right? And on our hourly time frame, this was the last area that price rejected. So if price is going to continue higher, it's going to come back inside of our zone a little more into this area and then continue higher. I would just safely take it back there. 100 pips is enough. It's possible though, with the news spike to get 200. If we're going to come lower, then I'm looking for price to come lower from underneath here. So TP1 here is 40, and then TP2 right here will be back to 50% of our weekly. I'm going to watch GU tomorrow. What? News is at 7:30. I will be up. I'll try to go live on TikTok, but TikTok has been banning my lives. So if you're up, just come on and see if I'm on. I'm gonna set my alarm now. That's gonna be good movement in the market. Unemployment claims always moves. I didn't realize today was FOMC. That was on me though. That was definitely on me. Like EuroCAD could have hit TP, and I'm gonna tell you why it could have hit TP. So where's my zone? Yeah, you see how EuroAuD is still pushing up? It's definitely gonna try to push there. But there's a zone here that I had that price just barely kissed. Here it is. Right. And when I woke up from my nap, I was so salty. Because why would you not touch the 50%? Why would you not? Literally 9 pips away, like he was bogus. But what I did use my fib. And the fib told me that the 27 was there. And I was like, well, the 27 is there. It has to finish. It has to finish and touch this zone. If the 27 is there, like, why would it not? Right? So here's the 27, here's the zone. If I would have set TP at the 27, have been out 58 pips would have been decent. It'd have been decent, right? But I was like, no, price has to come to this zone. So that's what happened with that, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, how do we get back to that? Okay, news, because we were talking about news. All right, Euro NZD, this up. Monthly time frame. Guys, make sure you're taking your time when you're marking these zones, because marking the wrong month, marking the wrong week, marking the wrong day, right? Having accurate zones matter. Okay. You see how that magnet just snatched it onto that one? Like, I be moving so fast, but I'm watching what I'm doing also. Don't allow that magnet tool to mess you up. All right, here on our daily here, I am going to look above last month's high for a fair value gap or something for price to reach to after breaking that zone. As we see, price has not been this high. We're all the way back in 2020. Let's keep going, right? So all the way to here, back to February 2010. Wow, the euro is doing well right now. The dollar, not so much. And right above, what do we have? We're about to get beautiful. you know? It's beautiful. I had somebody had a nerve to tell me fair value gaps don't work. I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm sorry that they don't work for you, that you didn't stick around, long enough to see if it worked for you. You strategy hopped, and I mean, who did it, But I'm telling you, fair value gaps work better than anything. All right, so we got our trend line here that price just broke. Don't really see anything that I feel the need to mark up as far as fair value gaps or nothing like that. So let's go down to our 4 hour. All right, and let's zoom out a little bit. And here we go. On our 4 hour, we have that same head and shoulders pattern here. Price has come on top. This right here is lastly high. All right, so we have a fair value gap. Definitely want to see price come back into that fair value gap before reaching for that high there. Again, if price was to sell, it would have to come back underneath this trend line, and then you'll take it here to the middle of last week. All right, so that's about it for your MTD. Go to GJ. GJ just hit stop loss. I did call a sell because price came back into this fair value gap. This is what I talk about waiting on price to break structure. Sometimes I don't wait for price to break structure. And if I did, I would have a higher win rate. So I think next week we are going to start being a little bit more patient and waiting for price to break structure because you still get just a bit of an entry. All right, so this mark up on monthly. Taking our weekly here. All right. I'm trying to figure out how long I've been on here. I have something on the stove. I think that's not. All right, so I do see a trend line here. I am going to mark it here, but maybe a little clearer on the lower time frame. I'm going to leave it. All right, I don't have anything else that I really see that I want to mark. I just know that price is, moving upward. Right here on our 4 hour, we get price here, and it was sideways. Now we're getting like internal structure, internal plus external. It's kind of moving a little crazy, right? It's not clear. So like here, here, then we get all this internal movement, and then here, here, we get all this, and we finally get here, and now we're here. All right, so we are on our, we're at monthly high. We ran it once, right? And then we came and retested. And this is one of the reasons why I was looking for a sell. Break and retest monthly, right? We did get a break of structure here. Then price came back into it. So it should be continuing low. But this is proving that price is going higher. I do want to look at the yen real quick to see if the yen is doing. All right, the yen is dropping, which is why GJ is continuing higher. All right, so that trend line. Janky looking a little trend line, but there's one nevertheless. Probably a channel off. And when I see price looking like this is an ascending channel, right? And I'm normally looking for price to break and recess to go in the opposite direction. Some tools I don't use too often, so it takes me a minute to find it. I know it's here somewhere. I'm not moving on without it. Here we go. All right, so one thing that I do like about this little tool here, we can see that price doesn't always come to the top of the channel, but it's been bouncing off of the middle of the channel versus just using trend. So I am going to start incorporating these. So of course, price comes back in the channel. We can possibly see it to come back right here to the middle, right? Or even back to the top. All right, give me 1 second, guys. All right, so GJ is in one of those areas that I would not trade in because we're just sitting in between our monthly and our weekly. And it's only a 20-pip range. I am not a scalper. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just ran upstairs. 20 pips is not enough for me. So I would not trade it. Now, if we were to get back underneath our monthly zone here, right? Price comes in heavily with a nice bearish candle, then I am definitely taking it. TP1, of course, will be back to that last low. And then we can also do our fib here. And then TP2 would be here, back at last week's low. So that was a perfect fib. Okay. All right. Yeah, GJ. That's what it's looking like. So here we have another gap. We can also draw a trend line here. And then if you want to be even safer, you can wait for a break and retest of this trend line. Prices rejected that. Yeah. All right, that's what we can look for on GJ. So I may just, I'm actually going to set an alert here. What time is it? It's 12:49. Wait, I'm gonna go. On the, um, all right, so it's 12:50 Central Standard Time, it's 1:50 Eastern Standard Time. About another hour before London session. All right, so GJ, I haven't marked up SPX since the third. I'm not going to mark up SPX or not. This is NAS. Follow this trend line here and then mark up your daily and 4-hour zone for that. All right, the dollar monthly. Daily here. Here on our daily, we can see that price was in consolidation and now we finally broken lower. We've even come and broken this low here. I actually am going to come over to the left on my daily, right? And we can see that price has not, I'm gonna put a line here so I can know where we are. All right, so you can see price hasn't been this low since February 2022. We've already come into this gap here. So what else do I have? I have this area here next. All right, so now I'm just gonna come back to the chart. Okay, so that area is kind of close. I'm also gonna mark up that other gap that I saw beneath it, this one right here. Just in case the price breaks through this area pretty fast, because again, tomorrow is unemployment claims. All right, let's go back to current price here with our dollar. And already this week, wow, look at that candle. Already this week, price has dropped 140 cents here and then turned back around. Right, so now we are at our weekly 50% here and coming back near our monthly low here. We have our monthly low and a fair value gap. I'm not going to mark this fair value gap because my monthly low price should come back and retest this area here. Then it comes to a 4-hour. And right on my monthly low, I have a fair value gap here on my 4-hour. Wow, look at this range. Wow. Price just fell ever since Friday of last week. Price just left there. So, because of this is such a big range and price has given me a fair value gap and an inversion fair value gap, this is a price balance range. I am going to move this area up here. All right, and now I'm gonna come hourly. And this is what I'm waiting for. So I'm definitely looking for price to come back here and then jack and come lower. But we'll see what happens this tomorrow's a news day. EU. Wow, wow, wow. EU. After that hit that area, it GU did too. Okay. This was definitely some mistrade opportunities. But we don't try to catch everything. I did catch, I've caught quite a bit of it already this week. Don't always like to be greedy. We have to work on the greed. Especially since it's literally just as easy to sit here, read these charts. Once you finally and read these charts and you see what's going on, it's like, oh wow. I'm telling y'all, get on these currency pairs. Nas, you can read them, but they move so fast. And the candles like don't move as smooth as these candles. Like if you've ever just sat there and watched candlesticks on Nas versus candlesticks on GU or EU, and you sat there and watched that 1 minute, that 3 minute candle, or even that hour candle, you will notice a difference like how Nas will be at one area and then 50 pips away from that area within like 5 seconds. Versus currency pairs, it's going to take maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before it even gets to 50 pips. And while it's trying to make its way to that 50 pips, it's setting up a story for you to be able to follow it to those 50 pip TP. Nas isn't doing that for you. Okay, so we have a gap here, which it looks like that's where price just came from. My only other area that I want to mark next is this structure area here. I don't want to go for that fair value gap up there. I feel like it's too far for right now. All right, so let's zoom out. Okay, so that was the structure point that was hit. So now we do have to go up higher. All right, so price hasn't been here since September 2021. And now next we have this area here. Okay, so I do have this fair value gap here. And then I also have this area here. So we've already touched this zone a couple of times here. I'll stick with this zone. That will be the next TP. We'll leave that one off. Let's see how far these are apart. About 49 pips, that's good. For EU. Alrighty, so again, this is looking like a break and retest to come higher, but we still don't know. It just depends on what happens. So price come back to our zone here, and then price will let us know if it's going to buy or sell. We have that exact same fair value gap right here on EU as we do on GU. So it'd be this gap here that I would want to know if price is buying or selling. Price gets underneath here, then we're taking it back to last, what is it? Is that our monthly? That's last month's high. I technically would not take that trade because it's only 28 pips. The only one that I would want to see happen is the buy, price to continue higher. And just back here to this high is 141 pips. And then you can even come back to this fair value gap here. And that's 65 pips, okay? Again, here. And this is also a variation of the bullish flag. Let me point this out. All right, so here's our flagpole here. This is our flag. So a flag doesn't always have to be a wedge, right? And this is actually our first breakout of this. So price come back, retest it, and which is how the bullish flag is supposed to play out. So we've never gotten a retest. So price could pull back into this fair value gap here. Do have a trend line. right? And that trend line has been respected, so price could come back right here, right? That'd be the top of our flag. That would be our retest. And that would even give us even more pips with coming back to here. Again, price could go higher. This is 93 pips. 93 pips is great. UJ, wow. Are you noticing the similarities? I hope you are. Consolidation, price just broke out, especially with these USD pairs. For the longest, I was waiting for price to come back and fill this. This is a NFP. If you look down at the bottom, it says Friday, August the 1st. From August, we are all the way in October. We have been in this consolidation on dollar pairs for 44 days. Like, let me go back to the dollar real quick. This consolidation here, 44 days. I can go to GU again. GU's consolidation looks a little bit different, but if I pull it up in here, this is still sideways movement here. EU, what other? NU was inside. NU has been really influenced by NZD lately, because as you can see, price is selling on NU, but it's buying on GU and EU. So NZD had some heavy news that sent this down here. Right. Where were we? GU still making its way on up out of there. Price gets up out of this area, then it is telling me that it wants to go higher, and that would mean I would need to find a zone out here. Let's do that real quick. And bam, there we go, right there. It's fair value gap on the daily. The price just continues to run, breaks and retests that last week's high, bring it up to here. That's at the top of that channel. 107 pips, which is good for GJ. GJ moves a lot. So, did we mark up EU fully? Yes, we did. We just finished EU. It's coming UJ. That's what we were doing, UJ. Okay, let's delete UJ. I'm gonna put a bullet on here so I can know where I'm at, just in case I get sidetracked again. All right, USD JPY. Right off the bat, you should be able to see this wedge pattern that UJ is in. This is why strategies are all good and dandy, right? But learning the chart and learning price action is a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame to be able to actually read the chart. And I promise you, it's really not that hard learning how to read it. You just have to find the right teacher that tells you what you need to read. And it took me a whole bunch of teachers to put everything together. And it's like, oh, okay, now this makes sense. Because everybody wasn't putting it all together. The closest person that did put everything together was Jessica Lane. A lot of the stuff that I know is from, but the way that she teaches structure is a bit confusing. And I found an easier way to be able to identify structure. All right, so here's usually price has just been trading in this area here, as we can see. The trend line above here. And looks like price just gave us one here. Price came into this fair value gap here, which set price back up. I am just gonna mark this up just because price just recently came from here. All right, now you can see that price broke outside of our consolidation. Then it came back inside of our consolidation, came back and gave us a weekly CRT move. Completely missed 116 pips, which is beautiful. So now this one is simple. Price breaker resets this. We're going to take it higher. Price rejects this. We're going to take it lower. Right? I have a trend line that I can mark here. I can mark two of them actually. I can do this here and then this here. And as you can see, price reacted to this area here. And definitely since price is giving us an impulsive movement, I would like to see it come here. And then of course, break and retest this area, you'll take it to here. So this just breaks up the zone a little bit more. And then we have a fair value gap right here. All right. So that's UJ, GBP odd. GBP odd has been moving up beautifully, right? It's just been making these beautiful little U's, right? Impulse correction, just nice little wave. Let's delete this chart. This is what people want the market to look like all the time. Like, let me go back. When they say the market is a trend and follow the trend, this is what people want the market to look like all the time. Impulse correction, get an entry, continuation. It doesn't look like this all the time, right? Like it looks like this most of the time. Then we get these nice, pretty weeks, right? Then we get this messiness. Then we get the prettiness, right? This is why I say you really don't need to trade every day. There's certain days and there's certain times where you can get in the market using this strategy and be done, right? Because you know what's going on. News days, though, high impact news day, I'm going to forever be there, ready to trade. I love news because news gives us that volatility. All right, so GBP odd just broke our monthly area here. This is our monthly low. We'll look and see if we got like a break and retest, and then we're definitely looking for price to come here and then here. So let's see how we can get in. All right, so we got this 4-hour fair value gap right here that it looks like price just got on top of. Onto our hourly time frame here. All right, so this is where price came into our monthly zone, came back into this fair value gap, and now it's breaking. Structure continuing higher. Price gave us a beautiful, perfect fair value gap right on top of our last structure point. So price has to come. Yeah, going to move GBP odd up to the top of my watch list. Make that one yellow. Euro odd real quick. Yeah, because Euro odd is bullish too. All right. So this one's easy, guys. Mark this one up. And we're looking for a break and a retest. Okay, so this was our break. We're looking for this retest. And then we're taking that to that weekly 50%. All right, Euro GBP is kind of a funky pair. It's kind of weird sometimes, right? We've been on our monthly time frame here, moving here for 3,317 days. It's been here since 2016, right? And when price is in consolidation, you have to know what's going on, right? So all price is doing is going from here to here, here to here, bouncing back and forth. So don't try to predict that it's going to go higher than here. But this is more than enough range. This is a 994 pip range. You can't tell me that you're not going to find 100 or 50 pips inside of this 900 pip range. You will. But for now, this is our range that we're focusing on. Okay? This is why we're marking these zones. If you haven't caught that yet, this is what's happening right now. And we always want to make the right now money, the right now moves. Otherwise, I'd be a swing trader. I don't want to be a swing trader. I do not. I need money weekly, at bare minimum, weekly. Scalpers like daily, you know? But sometimes they're scalping every day. I'm not saying everybody because there's some good scalpers out there. But for a majority of people, you're scalping every day and you're up one day, down the next. And then you're ending the week in the red. No. All right, here on Euro GBP, we are in this wedge here. We're at 50% of last night's candle. We've ran a last week's high. Price has come in, retested. This is pretty much already gone. Yeah, this is pretty much already gone. The entry was here. The entry was up here somewhere, right? Then they could take it down to this trend line here. Right now, the monthly is just holding up a little bit. Okay. Now we do have this big fair value gap here. And this is bullish fair value gap. So price could come back up to this trend line. Me personally, there's nothing to trade on Euro GBP. Okay. The bigger move to where you could have actually made some money was this. We're coming down to the squeeze, right, of the wedge. If you look at the wedge here, this is the shorter part. We're not going to get as many pips up in this area. This is a 52 pip zone, and that was only if you caught it up here, right? So we're going to leave Euro GBP alone. Let's go to the Euro JPY. Euro JPY is pushing up because we've established that the yen is still pushing down. All right. So the yen has two trend lines, but we'll see where it stops. Oh, actually, you know what? I just realized, and I could have used this on DJ. This is why I marked the yen up. The yen has ran our monthly, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's coming in at monthly 50%. So that may send us back up. hindsight is always 2020, and I hate when I realize something was too late. Too late. Which is why we're getting this beautiful move here. All right. Euro JPY. Got on top of last month's high and heading to the previous month's high. So I am actually going to just mark up that previous month's high because price is so close to that area. It's literally like about to break it. I'm going to come to my weekly. All right, so we can see that we had this long impulsive move. We had a correction and price is making its way up for a continuation here. We're almost about to break last month's high and last week's high. Yeah, it's definitely coming up there. How many pips away are we? We're only 11 pips away. I'm going to come to my daily and I'm going to see if there's anything on top there. Right, and we are currently sitting inside of this fair value gap here. So I'm just going to mark this high here. Price is going to reach for this area next if we get a break and retest. For price to go higher. All right, I see a little trend line here that I draw. I want to bring it to majority of price. And I could also put a channel here. All right, so again, I'm seeing that ascending channel like we had on GJ. But like I was taught, price can ascend for as long as it wants before it reverses. I have not put my indicator out. Let's see, where are we? Okay, we are high on our indicator and price has been screaming bear on our indicator, although price is making higher highs. So we do have divergence also. So eventually we are going to get a reversal and that's probably going to happen when price gets here to its zone. Look how low we are on the yen. Okay, guys, yeah, we're really low. Right, and price is screaming a hidden bull up in here. Okay. So I am going to bring EJ back up to the top of my watch list too. Again, tomorrow is Thursday, guys. Don't know if this stuff is going to happen tomorrow, but we have our bias. This is pretty much it. I do want to see how far this range is. 154 pips is kind of a lot for the end of the week. But again, we have news. But I do want to see if there's anything up in here. Okay, here we go. A huge fair value gap here. That's crazy huge. This happened July 2024. I just want to see where 50% of this gap is. Okay, I'm gonna mark that because price could come here reject versus making its way all the way up there. Yeah, see, and right there is the top of the channel too. Okay, so that's EJ. Was there one there on GJ here? Let's go over. Let's check our. All right, so this is where we currently are, our dotted line. There was a big gap here, but not as big as how EJ's is. And I don't really see anything else above that. So I'm gonna leave what I have there. Alrighty, that was EJ. EU's back in this fair value gap, and it is on top of our weekly here, but I'm not gonna do anything until noon. Odd NCD gave us a nice impulsive movement um, from news earlier. Where did this start from? And see, this I think was basically all of the movement that's happened this week. Was that NZD has moved 93 pips already this week. Okay, so let's come here to our monthly. As we can see again, we are basically like in consolidation. We ran last month's high. I'm pretty sure it has retested it. But if it hasn't, then of course we're going to look for that. And I'm just going to measure how far we are from this next high here. Okay, 293 pips. In the next 2 days really isn't realistic, so I'm not going to worry about marking that high. I am here on my weekly, and price is currently coming into this little baby value gap here. And we are actually here, okay? After that, I would mark up this inversion here. All right. And that's about a 90 pip range that's doable, all right? So we've never retested last month's high, and there's a fair value gap right here. I don't really see anything else that I need to mark up here on my daily. Gonna come down to my 4-hour here. And you see how we got this impulsive move here, somewhat of a little pullback. Price came back to retest this area here that it broke. And then we got our impulsive move here. I'm gonna come down to the hour. Okay, so on our hour, we did get a break and retest here. Price continued higher, and then it came inside of it again. So we need to see another retest. The only way I would buy this is if price broke and retested this area. So it's 86 pips back to the downside here. My only thing is I definitely would be concerned with that fair value gap. I'm going to mark it up here on the 4-hour. This would be one of those ones that I would only take. I wouldn't trade inside of the zone. Price will have to break this, retest it for me to take it up here, or break and retest this and take it back to that weekly. But if price rejects this, I wouldn't take it until price breaks this, because I don't know if it's going to come back to this area here and then sell. GBP CAD looks funky-ish, right? this again is an ascending channel. Price broke the channel. Price came back and retested the channel. TP1 is here, right? So all of this has already happened. I don't foresee this doing too much movement this week, but this is our weekly zone, of course, the red one. If price breaks and resets last week's 50%, then you have this trend line here to take price to into this little fair value gap here on the 4 hour, which is like 30 pips. Not really worth it. I'm not even gonna delete this chart here. NZD USD, like man, NZD USD and AUD USD don't really move much. So to see that price has ran 110 pips beautifully, I don't know. I don't know what kind of movement we're gonna get from this tomorrow. But let's mark it up because it is a USD pair. Oh, price has ran the monthly. Sheesh. Okay. Third week of the month, look for that monthly move. It's happening flawlessly. Flawlessly. When I say the third week of the month, you could possibly like not trade all month and just trade this week. Because that was a 98 pip range. And if I was watching for it, all right, we are here on this daily here. We'll mark this trend line here. And this one below also. All right. We got a nice little cross point that is telling me that price should buy back up. It's about 4 hour. I'm gonna mark this fair value gap here. But this was the last area that price broke. So we could possibly get a push up here, but again, we have news, so price could come right back into this fair value gap and right to this trend line and then push up. I'm definitely looking for bullishness because of news. So I'm just gonna move this back to the top here. And we're gonna watch this one, EJ, NU, EJ, GJ, GBP odd has already, it's broken on top. Let me set an alarm here on GBP odd for my retest here. I think this is going to be it for our markups here. We're mainly gonna watch out for those. USD CAD is funny. But this is looking like a break and retest, you know? This was our last time that price touched this area. If we're looking for bearishness on our dollar, we're gonna get bearishness on USD CAD, which means take it back down to last week's low, okay? That's 50%. Where it's at right now is 50% of last week's zone. And then also, no, that doesn't match up for that. Why is UJ not up here? UJ. Same thing on AU. AU's coming into a fair value gap. AU is on top of our monthly, right? It could come all the way down here because there's a fair value gap here as far as breaking and retest. I'm not really going to trade AU. Everything else we're going to pretty much leave be. I'm going to move the yen up because I do want to see what happens on the yen from my JPY pair. So basically NZD USD, Euro JPY, GJ, GBP, Euro CAD, GBP, NZD, GU, EU, UJ. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think these 10 pairs. One of them has to give us at least 50 pips tomorrow. And tomorrow is a news day, so I know we, bare minimum gonna catch that. I will be here. Where is here? I don't know. I may just be, on Zoom live recording it because TikTok, is being weird. Like, why you acting weird to me? I digress. All right, guys, it's 1:32 in the morning, 2:32 Eastern Standard Time. Whatever happens during London is going to happen during London. I am worried about unemployment claims. This is what's going to move the market, right? So, see you guys in the morning. Have a good night.